Perfect. So, hi, I'm Taylor Stocker. I'm here on behalf of No Radio to interview Qymira about her new song, Labrinth of Life. I want to start to get to know you and just ask how you got into music to begin with.
Okay. Um, I will start by, you know, when I was very, well, I think, before I could do anything. Well, my mum was a piano teacher. And so I've got a lot of brothers and sisters, and I was hearing them all the time on this black little machine that I thought is making a weird sound. So one day when I was 3 years old, I was told, I crawled up the stool and just basically thought I'd do the same thing as them. And that's how it got me started because, I was apparently playing a C major scale just because I was listening to them day in, day out all the time. And my sisters were saying like you were playing something, and because you kind of hit all the notes, you were making a scale out of it. And I thought it was your other sister doing it. So I went to mum and basically said it's about time she started, so you can, tell her off instead. So that's how it all kind of came about.
That's amazing. That sounds like a fairy tale. Like you're just meant to be a musician.
I don't know about that. I think it's more like curiosity and also kind of just feeling a little bit frustrated that, they're all on something every day. And I was just crawling around and, like a ball, they
Yeah.
were a lot older than me. And so I thought I'm going to try and join the club. And then my mum said, all right, if you're going to do the piano, then you're going to have to also learn the violin. I don't know why piano and violin seem to go together in our family. So it all started from there. And then, the other bits and bobs, it's kind of like all in a roundabout way, but it was all classical to start off with. Pop kind of, came into the radar like a lot later.
Obviously here to talk about your new song, Labyrinth of Life.
Yes.
You've said before that you wrote the song about like a personal awakening. Could you tell me more about that? Like, did you yourself have a personal awakening, or is it more about someone else or like an emotion?
It was a very, very personal journey that well, what happened was when I wrote this, I was going through a really hard time because my mom was very sick at that time. And it kind of coincided with a period that it was already difficult to, do something as in make it in the industry. Not that I was making it, but basically, to the music industry, entertainment industry is not, as glamorous as, most
Hmm.
people think. So it's a lot of work. And whether it was in the UK or whether I, when I went back to LA, it was a day in, day out, just hard work and trying my best and lots of it's a a whole journey on its own. And because I gave it all up because my mom was sick and I went back to Hong Kong to try and take care of her, I was kind of going through a really huge dip, and I didn't want to share that with anyone because it was too painful. And I think it was more like, kind of like because it was going on for a long time. So even my best friends didn't really know what I was going through because I didn't want to answer anybody's questions about, hey, how's your music going? Or, how's
Hmm.
everything going? And, I didn't really want to go into it. But one day I just kind of woke up and go, something, you don't have to be so silly. Life is about sharing. And whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I'm sure everyone has their own story. So I started opening up and realizing that everyone has their own stories to tell. And there were lots of kind of revelations in between, all of this stuff, because, along with trying to help my mom to feel better, I was trying to, do a lot of like reflections and introspections and things. And so I wrote, the lyrics came to mind when I go, you know what, we can be all in this together and make
Hmm.
each other's lives better, because it's kind of like a maze. Life is like a labyrinth. And nothing is ever straight. But I think most importantly is that you just have to kind of be there for each other, but kind of strip off all the public face, and kind of brave face, poker face, and just be real with each other. And then hopefully we'll find ourselves at the end of it, kind of better for it. So that's why this whole thing.
I love that. That is an amazing story, and I think that's really felt through your song. Like I would listen to it and read through the lyrics, and I was like, I definitely feel like we're going on a journey, and just I feel like everyone needs that reassurance that it's gonna be okay in the end, but you got to get there. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad you like it. I really honestly didn't know what how this song was going to be received. It was just really something that I thought. In fact, when I was writing it, because Mum was still sick at the time, I was thinking, this will never see the light of day. It's just going to sit there. And then somehow, I guess, it's true. When you least expect it, that's when things happen.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the things that you don't believe in do the best, and I think
Yeah,
that's quite beautiful.
yeah,
You've got a live orchestra in your track, so the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra. I know that you
yes.
composed and conducted the whole thing.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to use a live orchestra in your track, and how amazing was that?
Oh my goodness. I don't know where to begin. The thing is, I didn't really think of using a live orchestra for,
Mhm,
a song or a pop song, so to speak. Because I thought, well, yes, I love strings. I love the sound of strings. And when I wrote it, I did have all the different instrumentations in mind because it's like a labyrinth in itself.
mhm,
When you kind of weave different instrumentations together, they all sound really different. The rhythm's very different. The notes are very different. But, when they work with each other, they become something, like a tapestry. So when I wrote it, I thought, oh, it'd be amazing if we could actually use a live orchestra. But again, because when I wrote it, my mom was sick and I didn't really think anything of it. So when I had the chance to actually work on a totally different project, it's actually for my foundation. It's just trying to help some kids
mhm,
in need, and it's called One Gaia. It's like about one world. So I went to the Philippines because that's where the One Gaia Foundation is most active at the moment. And that particular project um, basically needed an orchestra, and because it's about the world, it's about something kind of epic and sweet at the same time. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, okay, why don't I use Labyrinth of Life as well? Because it's about helping each other and, kind of being there together. And when I heard the live orchestra on this particular track, it just made so much sense. And it added a whole new dimension to it because it's like, it just comes at you because I had the opportunity to work with like 60-piece orchestra, so 60 musicians there in the studio of the ABS CBN. It was just something altogether different. And it made me actually, it was another revelation of, right, if I can help it, if I can do it, then, I would always love to have some orchestrations in the tracks that I do, the music that I do. And writing that for them was another thing because I was in the UK at the time and I only had 1 week to actually prepare for the entire thing to go back. And there were like 6 songs that I had to do with them. So I had basically 1 week to write for 60-piece in basically orchestrations. And then in the end, when it came out, and I had 2 artists at the time that were featuring on Labyrinth of Life.
mhm.
Um, One was Filipino Chris Lawrence, and the other one was Duenji Primero from Brazil for the whole One World thing. It was very mesmerizing because the orchestra was adding something to it. And so I think this is almost like an experiment, but it sparked off a whole thing of, right, if I can help it, it would be great. Little did I know that the orchestra then afterwards said, can we name ourselves something different? And I was thinking, what do you mean? Because they are members of the Philippine Philharmonic, Manila Philharmonic, and they said, actually, we would love to call ourselves a Chimera Symphony Orchestra. And I was
Oh
just
wow.
standing there just gobsmacked. I was thinking, are you sure? I just couldn't believe it. And I think by this time they had been working with me a little bit and they said, just, a little bit different when we're playing with you because, sometimes you ask us to play by heart and we don't do that as an orchestra, but it kind of make us feel like we're more in touch with our heart when we play that. So it's another journey. So I'm looking forward to going back in about a month after the tour with Boys Life to do much more recording with the orchestra. and with different tracks to continue the Labyrinth of Life journey.
That's amazing. Well, I can't wait to hear what you do next with the orchestra. Like that's like a beautiful story, just about one song, and then all of that coming out of it is amazing. You spoke about the One Gaia Foundation. Can you like explain a bit more like what you do for that foundation and yeah, just kind of what it is a bit more?
Yeah, sure. Um, I didn't wake up one day and just go, right, let's start a foundation. It wasn't like that at all. It was around the same time as Labyrinth of Life, where, I kind of felt like by being there for mum because she was my best friend, I kind of lost my purpose, if it makes any sense, of like, I didn't know what to do with myself apart from just being there for her. And at the same time, I've got, quite a few friends that are Filipinos and, in Hong Kong and in LA. And also in London. And they were telling me about, stories about themselves, their families, but mainly their communities. And so I just found like it was gobsmacking for me that, so many provinces and their stories are identical where they are smiling, they are happy and everything, but so many of them have been going through natural disasters and all of that. And I heard so many stories about children walking for like 3 hours each way to school in the mountains, but they had no shoes. So, it was like a situation of, oh my goodness, us, whether it's in Hong Kong, LA, or London, or wherever we are completely oblivious, as to other people's stories and plights. And I just thought, what would it be? How much would it be? What would it take for us, to try and help a little bit? And I realized that, a lot of the times it's not even our lunch money in order just to help for them to have some slippers, to go to school. So it started off just me trying to help, and I gave them some school supplies and some slippers. And when I was doing that, I realized that actually they couldn't even have any schools to go back to because the roofs of the schools had fallen off, and all of those things. So I thought, okay, little at a time, let me see. And then some of the other things came, like some children with cancer, very sadly, in Cebu in the Philippines, they had no mattresses. And so a lot of them were sleeping on the floor, and they were as young as like, 3 years old. And it broke my heart to hear all these stories. So I thought, it was around the same time as when I was trying to kind of go within with Labyrinth of Life and everything, and realizing it's all about being there for each other. So I thought, let me see what I can do. And I thought, if I did nothing else, and if I were just to help a little bit at a time, maybe that's really my purpose in a way. So I actually went quite active into this whole One Gaia thing, because it wasn't just Philippines, it was also some children in Hong Kong, and then also Brazil. And I realized that actually they have one thing in common, which is that the majority of our world is actually people in need.
Mhm.
It's adults and children in need. But children, cliche as it may sound, are our future. So they all have one thing in common. It doesn't take much for them to be happy. They just want to do something that they are good at, that they love, that they're passionate
Mhm.
about. So when I saw like these kids in the Philippines barefoot in like potholes all over the floor and everything, and they are playing basketball for like 6 hours after school if they have a school to go to, and they are so good at it. I thought, that's really our universal language, which is music, arts, and sports. You don't need anything. And I don't speak Tagalog. Now I speak a little bit, but I didn't need to do anything. They were like so happy when they were expressing themselves. So One Gaia is about helping children in need from different parts of the world, through music, arts, and sports, because we don't need to communicate through spoken language. They just need to be doing what they enjoy. And us who are fortunate enough to have our own opportunities can share our opportunities with them and extend a bit our platform to them. So that's what we are trying to do. So I'm tying kind of the Qymira thing and the foundation together. Hopefully it'll be wherever there is a chance for Qymira, it'll also go to the children of One Gaia.
That is amazing. You honestly sound like Superwoman to just do all of this and then start a foundation and help all of these people.
It's
Honestly,
just restless. I'm just restless.
fair enough. That's honestly amazing, and that story really touched me, and I think you're gonna help so many people and children, and yeah. Do you like you said about sports and music and art? Obviously, you're a musician, a musician. So how do you like help the children with music? Is it like I don't know, teaching them to play an instrument or singing lessons or things like that?
So there are actually about 10 initiatives in One Gaia that are in these music arts and sports. For example, in music, we have singing, which is called Singing Souls. Dancing is Dancing Hopes. So something's always kind of giving a bit of like hope and love and light to children. And these initiatives basically will carry on. So it's kind of like um, like there is a path
Mm-hmm.
to, so it's actually first you empower them by giving them supplies, for example, instruments, or, if it's basketball or football, then, jerseys and balls for them to play with, coaching if, they need, and all these kind of empower them and then to let them express and finally to exchange. So it's empower, express, and then exchange. So these 10 initiatives go through like different paths. For singing, for example, they in the different schools they will have the programs to basically choose the talented singers, little like young singers of that community. And then, like for example, in December I just held the second season of the Singing Souls, so it's the One Gaia Stage Quest it's called. And so all over the Philippines they would have either physical auditions or so cut a long story short, it's a bit like, the Idol franchise or the Voice franchise, but it's for children in need. So, they basically come together wherever they are, whether it's really, really like up in the mountains of, the Philippines, indigenous communities, or, basically people that are really impoverished, like, homeless children. We had, homeless children from different communities coming together to show their talent, because a lot of them are raw talent. They had not been coached. They came in like barefoot and all of that, just to say, what, everyone is welcome, as long as you have the passion and the talent in it. And they went through like three different stages: auditions, semi-finals, and finally the finals. They worked with members of the orchestra, so they actually went through the entire thing, and then we stayed with them on their journey to record with them. I wrote some songs for them last year and then release that for them. And so that's one example of the singing. The dancing is going through same thing. And then we have the Gaia Games, which is for basketball and football, because I would love the world to kind of work together in team sports, because it's kind of working together as a team, and
Yeah.
it doesn't take much, for children to. It's not like tennis where it's a lot more expensive, but for football and basketball, you can actually do a lot with them. So all of these initiatives are catered to, these children in need. But then same thing in Brazil. They are ones, who rap, for example, in the favelas. I was there working with them in the favelas. And now, to do with the films in the favelas as well. And, and then the Philippines one, the Brazilian ones, they will come together to do, for example, a stage show. So, just to exchange their talents, and also understand that actually you're not the only ones that are going through that. And then children in need come in many different forms. Some are like impoverished, some are disabled. So I worked with the disabled communities. Some, unfortunately, they don't have any limbs, but they can sing.
Mhm.
And then those that have cancer, they have treatments and everything, but they can still draw. So I sat with them, for example, every Tuesday, Thursday. I played the piano in like on Zoom, like we're doing now,
Mhm.
and I call the computer like a little window. So I will say, come to me, and we can talk through the little window, come up to the little, and they are dancing and all sorts after the chemo. And then I make their drawings into like, canvas bags. So, because I don't want them to ask me things like, so they call me Ate, which means sister. Ate Leslie, when will I die? When's my time? And I don't want them to do that. So that's
Mhm.
why I'm like, you're not going to think about that. Let's like, put your focus in that. So I then give them back the canvas backs that with their drawings, so they feel like, oh, I'm little designers, and then also give these canvas backs to the homeless children, so they have like each other kind of like angels. So the ones that are in the streets will have a bag from the ones that are sick, things like that.
That is amazing. Like you've created a whole world and just yeah, I'm amazed by everything you've done. I commend you for all of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor. It's just a little something, and it's not even scraping the surface. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Uh, it's sad because I saw how happy they were, when I gave them, these canvas backs, and they were not expecting it. And I thought, this is just a little something. What does it take to actually take their drawings and go and print something out? The proceeds go back to their communities, but at the same time, they feel, which is more than the proceeds, is that, hey, mom and dad, look what I have, and this is what I made. I'm not just here doing chemo and basically, waiting to die. And that's for me the most important, the most precious thing.
So one of the lyrics in your song is grind until the days are done up, chasing all my dreams. So do you have any advice for someone that's trying to break into the industry? We're originally a student radio station here at Nerve, so we've got lots of people trying to break in any way they can.
Yes. Um, I would say that it really is true that we just really need to believe, believe, believe in yourself and continue. Doesn't matter what other people say, because I've been in this and been very lucky to be in this for a very long time. But as I was saying, I've actually had to kind of go on a whole really long break, thinking that, right, you know what, it's hard enough to start off with. Now I've
Mhm.
got to take this break, because you never know, life happens. But if you don't even, the least that you can do is believe in yourself, because nobody else will believe in you as much as you do. And then a lot of it is to do with luck. But also, one more very important thing, which I've even just kind of now come to realize, is find your own sound and never deviate from it. And don't and try and basically conform to the industry of or the sound that's out there, because only you can do you. Nobody else can be you. But if you try to be, for example, sing like Alicia Keys, or, whoever it is that's your influence, it will not really be anywhere if that's not you to start off with. So
Mhm.
just be.
I think that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I'm honestly
Oh,
just amazed by everything you've done, and the whole One Gaia Foundation and Labyrinth of Life is such an amazing song, and I feel like you really bring everyone together.
oh, thank you, Taylor. The thing is, I'm not really doing anything special apart from, everyone has their journey, and my journey kind of brought me to a place where all this kind of happened. And so I think we can all get inspired, and that's all we can wish for.
No, I think that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me.